I've bought another Honda CBR125 and I just had to. It was so cheap and probably quite an easy fix. It's also a low mileage clean bike, so it's got 8,700 miles on the clock, 2 owners or 3 owners from new, nice paint scheme, great bike, but it has got some issues. So it's got damage to the front, bent forks, engine does not start, and it needs an overall rebuild. So the previous owner did quite a bit of work to try and figure out why it doesn't start. So he said he changed the fuel pump, he checked the spark, and I've done a bit of work already just to check all of that. So I've checked the spark is sparking, and it is. The spark plug was quite low on meat, so I've changed that. The fuel pump sounds like it is priming, although I don't really trust it, but it does sound okay-ish. So coming in a bit closer to make the filming a bit easier, I've just removed a few bits. So I've removed some here. By the way, this is a nice trick if you're doing this at home with these fuel injected bikes. If you just detach these 2 wires from all their clips, you can actually leave them on there, and then you could just rest the whole petrol tank down like that, and it means you don't have to mess around with detaching. So it's much easier to do it that way. So coming in here, I'm just going to show a little trick. So I've removed the airbox here, and what we want to do is when this bike turns over, it just is turning over like that, right? And so it needs a spark, compression and fuel. And to test it, I'm going to remove that quickly. I have already tested the compression and the spark. So looking over here, what I'm going to do is get my little fuel hose here, get some petrol in there, and I'm just going to, so I've thrown that directly into the entrance there, and now this should start. So the engine did fire up, so we know it will run. It's just a fueling issue. So what I'm going to do next is I have got this, which is a spare. I've taken off the original one of these, which is a fuel injector, and I'm going to put this on the bike and just see if this could be the culprit. I should clean it up, but I'm just going to go for it and put this on. So I can just push it directly onto here. Then I need to, actually I'll do that later on, and I'll just clip in 1, 2. This guy we don't really need to bolt down, we can just keep it kind of loose. So if I just push this down into the gap there, that should work. Now I need to lift this petrol back up here, and now let's just see if we can get it to fire. Okay, so now we are getting some fuel injection flashing lights here on the dash. So if I do that again, we'll have a look at this light. So this is flashing, meaning that there's a problem. So I think that might just be that the bolts and stuff need to be tidied up. So I'm going to do some bolts up, get this stuff tied in properly, and then we'll try again and see how it goes. I have replaced this part, which is the fuel injector body, and I've never known one of these to fail before, but it could happen. And looking at this one, there are some cracks here. I don't really know what this part does, but there's some definite cracks in the rubber, so it could be that this part is faulty. I had a spare one in stock here, so I've changed it, and let's see if that makes a difference. So to ensure that everything works, you have to have the petrol tank flat with petrol available to the fuel pump. So we'll prime up the pump a couple of times. As I said, I don't like the noise from the fuel injection pump, but the guy did say he changed it, so let's hope it's a good one. Let's see if that works. Okay. It feels good. I think it needs an adjustment to the idle speed. So I'm just going to do that manually by just holding it for now. Another little trick as well, guys, just coming closer. if your carbs or your throttle body are struggling to suck petrol through, what you can do is cover up most of the air inlet, and then that causes a vacuum inside the throttle bodies, and that will make it suck more petrol through. So we'll try that. I think it's the fuel pump because it doesn't sound right. Just see if you can pick up the sound. I hold my microphone close to it. If I turn it on and off a couple of times. Actually, where is that noise coming from? There's a noise coming from here that I don't like. I'm going to see if I can... I think it's from this. I'm going to change this part because this one I kept from the other bike just to make my life easy, but it's making a noise that I don't like. So I'm going to change this piece here, and maybe this pump is faulty. So let me do that and I'll come right back to you. So I have changed out the complete unit down there, and there's no reason two of them should be broken, so because nothing has changed, it must be something else. Now, when I turn the fuel pump, when I turn the ignition on, you can hear a clicking down there, and I believe that what that is where there's no petrol actually coming through to the unit. So instead of it pumping petrol, it's just pumping air, which makes that clicking sound. So what I think I need to do is take this petrol tank apart and just have a look, because I kind of get a feeling that there's something in the tank that's stopping petrol getting into the fuel pump. So I'm going to pull this fuel pump out, have a good look, maybe put some new petrol in. So to check the fuel pump and make sure it all kind of looks okay, I'm just going to pull it out. So you have to sort of just massage it around there, and I want to have a look, and you see here there's some gunk sort of building up. So that could be a cause of issue. So looking inside there, there's all this sort of gunk up and around the fuel pump. So that could be something. So I'm just going to put that to one side. I have put new petrol in this, but I'm going to just drain it out again and just have a look, because it might just give it a flush that it needs. So draining it into my... There's no grass left because I've already nuked it with petrol. So sorry Greenpeace guys if you're watching this. I've got petrol inside my shoe here, which I'm going to try and save. Yeah, so don't do that at home. Anyway, notwithstanding my environmental disaster, I am going to drain this petrol a bit more carefully. So I've pulled out the old fuel pump here, and this is another one. This is used, but just looking at the condition difference, you can see that this one is first of all brown, which indicates that a lot of rusty water has sat on it, and I think the last guy probably flushed the tank, but this is residue. So there's just a load of rust and brown staining in there, which shows that probably water was in this tank for quite a long time. Inside the tank is quite rusty as well. And then this is a replacement, which is off another bike which I just stripped for spares. It was in the last video with the white one, there's the old petrol tank over there. And this is why, guys, that I do a lot of Honda CBR125s, and it really doesn't matter what bike you do. If you want to actually make money doing this, you have to do a bread and butter bike, at least as a baseline, because I'd have had to order this off eBay, wait for it to come for a week, probably pay 40 quid for it. As it is, I've just taken 5 minutes and gone and grabbed it. So that's why I do a lot of the same bikes, because I get to use a lot of the parts from leftover projects, and it saves so much time. So what I'm going to do is throw this one probably in the trash, is where it's headed. And then I'll put this one in the red petrol tank here. So now I've completely emptied this petrol tank. In a second I'll go and fill up a new jerry can. So to put it in, I just feed it down there, and there's only one way for it to go in, and I just have to sort of spin it around until it feels good. I think that one goes that way, and I think that goes about there. And then you can see these are the two plates. That's the one, this is the one that was on this bike, and it's pretty nice. This one I'll probably throw away now. So now I can put this over the top of this, Undo it carefully. And then this will allow me to just see where everything sits. So that's where that sits. There's only one way for it to go. And then I can put these nuts back on. So I'll put all this together, go and get some petrol, and then we'll try and fire this guy up. So I've got a full jerry can of petrol, and I always go for 97 grade, which is the highest grade you can get in the UK, the purest petrol. And the extra purity, I think, helps to just clean things up. So I will fill the tank up as best I can. Okay, one petrol tank full of petrol, petrol cap back on. Let's see if it makes a difference here. So the sound is the same. That sound is a lot better from the fuel pump. So it's hard to describe, but you want a, I don't know how to explain it, but I know from the sound that that sounds better. So I'm priming it quite a few times, and that will hopefully pump through a bit of petrol, and let's see what happens. Nothing so far. Yes, kick ass. So that was that. So we'll leave that to run for a bit. So the bike now runs. And unfortunately we've changed three things. So we've changed the injector, the fuel pump and the fuel. So we don't actually know which of them it was, but I think it was the fuel pump added and made worse by old fuel. So I'll be throwing that fuel pump in the bin. And this bike now runs. So onwards and upwards. This indicator has got a broken casing and missing lens. So I want to change it. To do that, I've undone a bolt that goes inside there. And I'll remove this rear light, and then here is the cable for it, so I can just pull that guy through and then hopefully get access to it. And actually I don't want to pull it all the way through just yet. I want to see if I can just change some of this, because I got a spare with the bike, so if I can just put some of these two together, then hopefully it will work out. Things are looking up, and I have put back on the petrol tank and all the stuff that was in there. Seat is sort of loosely on, and it's time for me to tackle the next issue, which is the exhaust. So when I start the engine, you can hear that loud noise, which is the exhaust, I guess, leaking. And it's because there's a hole in there caused by rust. So what I'm going to do is take this thing off and just have a look. So it's pretty easy. It's just a 12mm nut, which I have to undo here at the back, and then there's two 12mm bolts under here as well. So I'm quite keen on fixing this exhaust, because most of these bikes have had the exhaust rust out, so it's very rare to find one with an OEM exhaust, which to me is a big deal. I just prefer the quieter sound. So let's pop this thing off and see how it looks. Okay, so that is amazing. And the whole exhaust has just come off. So let's have a little look and see if we can spot our fault. And yeah, there it is. So that is a hard fix to fix. So I'm going to have a little go with my welder and see if I can fix that hole. If not, this will be going in the scrap, but I love OEM exhaust on these bikes, so I'm going to do my best to save it. We'll see how it goes. So all I'm doing there is cleaning off some of the rust so that the welding will stick to the metal if there's rust on it, it causes a load of gas, which makes the actual welding process not work very well. So let's get the welder out and see if I can fix this hole. So I've got my welder out, and a couple of notes for you guys at home if you want to try this. If you do it outside, you need to use more gas because the wind kind of carries the gas away. Use CO2 for steel, argon gas for aluminium. Get a little welding gun like this, and then I like to clean up the metal where I clamp on the earth clamp, and then I can just get going. So I've got an auto darkening helmet, but you can just use your face and shut your eyes when you start welding. No, don't do that, be safe. So let's have a little go. Just having a little look at what we've got so far. You can see that I've built up a nice ridge along the top there, and I won't touch it because it'll burn my hand, but I've built a nice ridge of weld along the top of my hole. Now we know this bit has got some good solid metal because that's a nice piece of thick steel, so I just need to bridge between the two pieces. So I'll continue to build my ridge of welding along the top there, and then I can just work on closing up the gap. So I got this exhaust welded up and it looks pretty good. Everything is pretty tidy, and so I just need to repaint it, and then I'll throw it back on the bike and we'll see how it changed the sound. This bike is really coming together now. I've got the exhaust on, everything is looking good. I just need to put all these parts on. So some of these came with the bike. That right hand fairing came with the bike. I couldn't find a matching one, but I've ended up buying this, which is slightly different but still red and black, so good enough. I just bought a black front mudguard, £25 for that one, and then I bought those belly panels over there. So overall this bike should end up being really tidy and quite nice. So first thing I'm going to do is to just grab the mudguard and put it on. So it just slips in here like this and then drops down there, and then I can just put in 4 bolts. So there's one, and I have to do it off camera with 2 hands, but you get the idea. So let's put that on for now. This petrol tank has quite a big dent on it, and so I want to change it. Luckily I found an exact same one, so I just need to switch these out. To do it, I will take off this bolt here. So this is just an 8mm bolt at the front, and then moving this tank out the way for a second. Put that on the floor for a bit. Under here, so I can just pull that seat out of the way. There's just this 10mm bolt over there. So I'll just grab my power tool. Great to have these kind of power tools on demand. So there you go. There's that one out the way. Then that pulls out, and then there's these tabs. They just kind of pop out of the petrol tank, and then I can just pull this guy up out of the way, and then I'll do it off camera because it's a bit tricky, but I have to basically disconnect the fuel pump, and then I can just pull this guy off and then change it. The front mudguard is now installed and this new petrol tank is on, so looking pretty good, no dents. So the next thing I need to put on is this front, and it's pretty much all assembled. I just need to put the screen in, which goes here, and then this whole thing will just bolt up to the front here. I really need a cameraman, but you get the idea. That's going to sit on there, and then this bike will almost be finished. The front headlight is now on and looking pretty good. So time now for this side fairing, which will just go up in this area and clip in place kind of like that. So I'll grab some screws, throw this thing on the bike. I went ahead and put the rest of these panels on off camera because I didn't want this video to become too long, and this bike has turned out really nicely for what it is. A 2009 pretty beaten up, pretty battered Honda CBR is how it was when I got it. I'm pretty pleased with how it's turned out. that new petrol tank I got has really helped things out, and it's turned out pretty well. Let's hear the engine run quickly. So fuel injection kicks in, and there you go. It's a nice, clean, quiet bike. I've put in new engine oil, new liquid coolant, and it's just a tidy bike. It's really nice. It's come together well. I love these twin headlights. It's got new indicators on the front there, and everything is pretty sorted. So this is now up for sale, so it shouldn't take too long to sell. It does need a bit of a warm up, but you get the idea. So there's just one more of these Honda CBRs that I need to rebuild that I've got, and it's on its way. Apart from that, I do need to start doing more exciting bikes to grow this YouTube channel. So if you've got any suggestion as to what you'd like to see me rebuild, do give me a shout in the comments. But yeah, thanks very much for watching, and I hope to see you on another video very soon. Do hit like, subscribe and all that stuff, and yeah, I'll catch you again on the next one. Bye.